Hello, everybody. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Oh, it's Friday. It is Drama Free Friday all day long. Hello, hello. Hi, Linda, Purple Nana Linda. Yikes. It is crazy around here. Crazy around here. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Where is everybody today? It's Drama Free Friday. What else can you do on Friday but come to Drama Free Friday? I mean, really, come on now. Oh, goodness. It is warm in my studio today. Hello, Peggy. Hello, Sharon. I did get your address, and I did respond to you on the email telling you that I got it. I just have not had any time to get to the post office this week. But it's happening this coming week. It is happening this coming week. Yes, it is. All right, why aren't you? Well, I don't know. Anyway. So thank you very much. Yes, I did get it. I'm glad you guys are here. Thank you for being here. Hello, Connie. It's the end of the week. Yes, it's time for Drama Free Friday. It is. And there's our other Connie. We have Connie and Starla. Hello. If you guys don't follow Starla on Instagram, you should. She takes some of the most beautiful photographs and posts them on Instagram. She posts pictures of the sky. I love sky pictures. I love cloud pictures. She does some great pictures. So if you don't follow her, you should. Just saying. And let's see, where am I? I have got, I need to stay in my house and clean up and organize myself again. You are welcome, Starla. It's true. I need to stay in my own house and organize my own stuff. I do. I'm living in you know how your creative space, I mean, this all looks really big and everything, and it is. But the space I work in is like 2 feet by 2 feet. It's a crime. It's a crime. It is. So come on in, everybody. I'm just having some tea, and while I figure out what I'm doing, because quite honestly, I don't know what I'm doing. I really don't. I should know what I'm doing. I've had plenty of time to think about it. Plenty of time to think about it. But, and it's not that I haven't thought about it. It's just that I have been I've been busy, shall we say. Anyway, come on in. Hi, Joan. Hi, Kathy. Good to see you guys. So we'll play with some postcards here in a little bit, is my plan. I'll do some machine stitching and I don't know what all else. But for the moment, while we're just sort of waiting for people to find their way, I think what we'll do is, and Chance is already locked up back here because he was being a total pain in my side. And so I told him that he had two choices. And he didn't pay attention to me, by the way. I told him he could either be quiet and stop bothering me, or he could go in there and have treats. And of all things, he chose treats. I don't know. What is up with that, silly boy? Okay. All right, so here's what I'm going to do and until we kind of get going. I'm going to, oh good, Kathy, that sounds good. I'm going to take some of these pieces of fabric that are various prints, bits and pieces, and I'm going to put them on these card fronts, and then I will do something else with them after that. I'm not sure what, but we're just going to kind of play around with this a little bit. I think I like it on the purple the best. And I'm going to stick these on with some double-sided tape, because that's how I'm going to rock this out today. And then we'll work on these postcards a little bit. Life has been a little cray-cray lately. I have been helping the Studley Duck with his house project that he's had going on. And so we've been making pretty phenomenal progress at his place, which is something that needed to go on. But you know, it's like one of those things that unless you're really ready to go through your stuff and, you know, downsize a bunch of stuff, until you're really ready to do that, you know what, it's not very much fun until you're really ready. And then when you're really ready, then you just sort of like get into it, and then you can't get out of it because there's no place to stop, right? All right, let's see how this works. Let's see how this works with the fabric. I think I've done this with fabric before, but you know, it's been a while. I've slept since then. Okay, how are you guys doing today? You doing well? The end of the week. The days just all become kind of a blur around here. It's a good quality problem to have. I'm not doing anything particularly creative, although I did some computer work yesterday, so that was good. I was going to finish what I started yesterday. I was going to finish it this morning, and I did not get that done, so I have that yet to do today. You know, it's just, we all have the same number of hours in the day. I don't know, sometimes they seem like they're really short, don't they? Okay, so we're going to stick this on here like, I'm going to see if we can kind of center this on here. Okay, so we have centered this more or less. I'm going to pull off the, or trim off the strings. This little section needs a little bit more tape under it. I'm just using an inexpensive tape recommended by Nick the Booksmith, and I don't have a link for it myself. If you go to her channel, I'd send her recommended I don't know, list of, I've forgotten now what she calls it, but it's in her Amazon links, supplies. Okay, so there's that. Let's just see if we can slap a word on it, or a phrase or something, just because that might help with it. And these are jelly plate prints. I do love that. I just saw this one. These are the Tim Holtz Small Talk. These are the snarky ones. I don't know. Let me see if I can find the one that I just saw. I wanted it in the black printing. I saw it in white. Here you go. Must be the mood I'm in. I don't know. But this one jumped out at me. A lot of these you have to have the right person that you can send these to, because not everybody, like Janet M. Young, we could all send this to her, And she would go, yep, uh-huh. And what I'm going to do is that's black with white printing. I'm just going to put a little bit of black ink around it because the core of the paper on this is white. And I'm going to add a little bit of tacky glue. When you see it, hello Barbara Clark. Kathy Patterson, hello. You didn't miss a thing, Kathy. You did not miss a thing. This stickum definitely is not going to stick. The adhesive on these is definitely not going. Okay, if the glue will come down any second. There we go. Yes, what was I saying before I interrupted myself? We're going to put this right here. We could send this to Janet M. Young because she's the queen of snark. How much better would life be if a liar's pants really did catch on fire? Yep. Okay, so, you know, that's not a fancy card, but you know what? It's good enough for a little note card if you just want to send something to somebody. You can't send that little card to just everybody, but the people that you can send it to, they're going to find that hysterical, right? Okay. Let's go to another one. Let's see. Isn't that funny? Okay, let's see what we can do here. I'm just making this up as we go, folks. Just making it up. Let's get rid of a little bit of this. These are just blank note cards. One of the best people I know for doing these little note cards like this is Barbara Clark. She's one of our mods in the chat. She is outstanding at making note cards like these. 100%. She is hands down one of the best at this. See if I can find another little scrap here. Maybe take this little piece off. I just make them up as I go along, you know. Okay, let's do this and this. Okay, good enough. We're going to do that. Snark is the spice of life. Oh, amen to that. So I'm just using, I'm zoomed in pretty close, so I got to watch where I put things under the camera so you guys can actually see them. I haven't seen Nick the Booksmith for a while. Does anybody know anything about her? I'll put a little more. Maybe I'll put a little glue here. I missed getting a little bit of tape under this one corner. I don't need all the edges. When I do this kind of stuff, I don't need the edges to be, you know, down tightly against the surface, but I do kind of like things to be stuck down. And I don't care if it's even a little bit wonky. It's okay. Hello, Shoo. Haven't seen you for a while. Well, you know, I don't mind it if it's paint, Barbara. I don't mind the bling if it's stuck down. If it stays stuck, I don't mind that. I really don't mind it if it stays stuck. What I don't like is if it comes off on my hands. If you don't have an assortment of widths of these tapes, that's one of the advantages to this particular brand of tape, which I think is a no-name brand. But one of the things that's a big advantage is that the pack of tape that I bought was an assortment of different widths, and that I really appreciate that, because then you've always got something that's going to work, you know. You were traveling? Good. I hope you had fun. I hope you went someplace that you had a good time and enjoyed yourself. Hi, Marion. Good to see you. I haven't seen you for an age. Hey, Rhonda. Wow, good. Everybody's coming to play. Okay, so do we want to put this on white? This white's going to be just fine. This is the kind of thing that I don't stress out about what goes on what. I try to go with my first impression of choice, and because otherwise I can get way too hung up in, oh, maybe it could go here, maybe it could go there, maybe it could go, yeah, that's right. Maybe it could. All right, so let's see how these were going to go. I was going to put these, like, maybe we'll do so they're not lined up, and then put this little blingy thing in the middle. That'll be fine. We'll put the blingy thing down first. I do have to say that so far I'm liking those fabric paints. So far, the Make It, what is it? Mark It? I don't know. It's whatever the Michael's brand of fabric paint is. So far, I'm liking that. And so, I don't know how I had these, and it really doesn't matter. So far, I'm liking them. The hand of the fabric stays nice, which means that it remains soft, pliable, and doesn't make it stiffer, the fabric, like regular acrylic paint will do. And the glitter and the blingy stuff seems to stay put. And on the fabric, doesn't seem to come off on your hand. So that's, you know, so far so good. So let's see, we're going to just put this one here. They're just going to kind of be their own little unique whoosy whatsits, you know. Okay, let's see if we can put something on here just as a word or something. And I sometimes I do the cards. Sometimes I do them vertically. I'll go on a kick where they're vertical. Sometimes I go on a kick where they're horizontal. But the blank cards, that's one of the things that's nice about them, because you can go either direction with them, of course. Okay. Why limit happy to an hour? Don't you think that's a good one? All right, let's... Since it's a white card, we'll put the white words on it with black letters. So I guess they're black words on a white background is a more appropriate way to say it. Where shall we put it before I... Doesn't matter, Barb. It really doesn't matter. Just stick it on here. This is not a thing of I'm trying to make works of art. We're just trying to get our... I'm going to put it down here toward the bottom. I really don't know why. It's just that's what I'm going to do. So there you go. Why limit happy to an hour? Isn't that the truth? There's a huge billboard close to where I drive a lot on the highway, and it says it's two big giant pieces of this billboard, and the top one says choose and the bottom one says joy. You know, we all need to do that, don't you think? Okay, Marion. Is Evelyn here? Hi, Evelyn. Chat's not working. Hey, Joni. They do kind of look like candles on a cake, don't they? They do. Hadn't thought about that. Okay, let's do at least one more. All right, let's see if we can do something with this pink one. I'm just using scraps that I have here on my desk. Do I want this or do I want this? I hope you guys are having a good day today. We are finally beginning to cool down a little bit, weather-wise. I'm sure we'll still have our share of hot days, but it's cooling off a little bit at night now, which is really very nice. I appreciate that so much. How are you guys doing with your weather? This is how I do a lot of this stuff, where I don't think about it a lot. I just start ripping things apart, or tearing things up, or using scraps. This one is not going to rip. It's too close to the edge. That's okay. It's a-okay. So we'll stick these down and we'll see if we can find some sentiment or word or something to go. So the ironing board drama that I was experiencing is finally behind me. My new iron and ironing board seem to be cooperating. You know, they just don't make products like they used to, truthfully. My mom had an ironing board that, I don't know what happened to that thing, but I'm telling you what, that ironing board, it was so heavy. It was one of those three-legged, you know, tripod type things. It's the same ironing board that she had, that I knew of all of my life. But I'm telling you, the thing was so heavy, if you decided to move it, it definitely did not waver. You know, it didn't act like it was going to tip and do all that stuff. Man, that thing was heavy. They just do not make things like that now, which is probably good, because at least we can lift them. All right. Yeah, we'll do it this way. I don't know why. I don't have a reason for why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm just doing. Okay? There is no reason. There is just the doing of the thing. Nice, Barbara. That sounds great. She's talking about her temperature in California. On the northwest coast of California. We had some real hot days, some humid days. I mean, all in all, it wasn't too awful. It was really dry once the rainy season kind of escaped us. It got really dry here, but we finally got some rain. So all the farmers are happy. The crops are happier. And the grass turned back to green for a little bit instead of shredded wheat, so that was good. It's always nice to have grass to walk on instead of shredded wheat that makes your feet just, feel terrible. All right, let's find something here. Let's find a black one. All right, these are the nice ones. These are small talk, but these are the nice ones. There's a snarky one and the sweet one. They have perfect weather. That's good. It's good to have perfect weather. I love this one. I love this one. I've been thinking about this. I watched a YouTube video the other day and didn't watch it. I listened to it. I was driving, so I only was listening to it. But it was a YouTube video. And it was about communication. It was one of those that, comes up on your... Because you watch this other thing, you'll probably like this one. It was one of those. And it was a couple, older couple. Okay, where are we going to put this? Stay curious. Stay curious. We'll just put it right here. Older couple, and I think both of them were counselors. And the funny part was this couple had been married 40 years. Okay, husband, wife, and I believe both of them were therapists. And married 40 years, and he had 2 kids when they got married. She had 2 kids when they got married. And then they had 2 kids together. And it was, so, I mean, they're in their 80s, I'm sure, easily in their 80s. And they were talking about how hard their communication was as a couple when they got married. And I'm telling you, this made me laugh. You have your great-grandmother's wooden ironing board, Rhonda. Wow. Oh, the weather you guys are having sounds really interesting. Hey, Linda. Linda Garcia, good to see you. If I miss saying hello to any of you, welcome. I'm glad you're here. I'm Barb, in case you're new and you don't know. Let's see if we can use up more of these scraps, and then we'll do something with the postcards. How about that? Anyway, this couple, they were talking about when they got married, and maybe it was before they got married. I don't know. I don't remember. But anyway, it made me laugh because Studley Duck is like this. And the husband, I don't know if they were married at that point, like I said, but he wanted to take her someplace really special. And so he took her to this really expensive restaurant. And he was trying to do something really nice. And so she just wanted to put him at ease about that. And she said to him, well, just so you know, I really don't need expensive restaurants. I don't need to go to an expensive restaurant. And Kentucky Fried Chicken is just fine with me, and made him mad. And they had one of the worst fights I guess they ever had, which made me laugh because I have not had that same conversation with the Studley Duck. But he loves to treat people to nice places from time to time. He really enjoys that. And there is a steakhouse that's here where I live, in the town where I live, that is a very nice steakhouse, but it's one of those, I've told you guys about it before. It's one of those that has lots of forks, and it has it's one of those, it's one of those places where they hover over you. They have multiple waiters and waitresses per table, and they hover, and they I hate to be hovered over. I don't want somebody refilling my water glass every time I take a drink. That irritates me, quite frankly. I don't want somebody acting like You don't even know what fork to use, do you really? You know, that kind of thing. It's really nice. It's a lovely place. It really is a lovely restaurant, and the food is very high quality and very good. But I am here to tell you, I'd rather just go to the steakhouse down on the corner that, you know, just the steakhouse on the corner would be fine with me. So when I turned 70, Studley Duck arranged for a surprise birthday party, which was very sweet, very kind, very thoughtful. Very thoughtful. And I'm sure it was incredibly expensive. I don't really know, but I'm like, we don't need to do that. But anyway, the couple that I was telling you about, one of the worst fights they ever had was over the restaurant that he took her to because he was being so nice. We don't argue about where we go to eat. Believe me, that I will not do. But it did make me laugh because I thought, yep, I can kind of understand her point. She was not. She was trying to be nice and thoughtful, and he thought he was doing a really good thing, and just offended him all over the place, apparently. But anyway, I thought it was funny. And I could kind of relate to it because, you know, truly, you know, I don't need to go some real expensive place. I just soon go to the one where you walk in, it's kind of like Cheers, where everybody knows your name. I kind of like that, you know. Yeah, that's true, Barbara. That is true. So you have this great big glass that you get to knock over if you're not careful. Yeah. You can go buy a whole bottle of not too bad wine for $12, right? Okay, so I'm just putting these on scraps of fabric, okay? Just little scraps, little bits and pieces of this and that is what I'm putting on these little cards, and then we're just sticking a word or words or a phrase or something on there. And you know, when you just need a note card to send somebody, if somebody needs encouragement, one of the nicest things you can do is send them something that you make. You know, I'm just putting tape on this thing. That's all I'm doing, is putting tape on this little piece of fabric here. That's one of the nicest things you can do. I'm telling you, and I've told you guys this before, but when I was dealing with the end of Clausman's life, I was literally, and I don't mean to belabor this point, but you know, there's always somebody that seems to need to hear it. Which way do I want to put this on here? Let's see. We'll do it that way, if I can remember it. Anyway, I was suicidal for pretty much the entire last, probably 9 months of his life. You know, the first 3 months I was getting my bearings, but I'm telling you what, those last 9 months were rugged, and for all kinds of reasons. All right, let's see. I'm just kind of getting this. So the reason that I tell this again and again is because there's usually somebody in the audience that goes, I thought I was the only one, you know, that couldn't deal with this. And it's not a matter of you can't deal with it. It's a matter of, this is so bloomin' hard, you know. Anyway, and there were several people that during that experience that would send handmade cards. It didn't make any difference if it was handmade or store-bought. It didn't make any difference. But just that little bit of encouragement that would show up in my mailbox. Barbara Clark was one of those. Aunt Beck's Creations. Becky was another one. And literally at exactly the right moment, their cards would show up in my mailbox. And I kid you not, it was like it's like providentially those would show up in my mailbox at exactly the moment I mean, exactly the moment that I needed something. So don't ever neglect if you feel prompted to send somebody a card, or you're thinking about somebody a lot, you just can't get them off your mind, send them a card. Just send them a card, or call them on the phone. It doesn't make any difference if it's a store-bought card. I love having cards like this that are made up, because then I can just get one and write a note to them. Let's scoot this over a little bit, like so. Just put it in the mail. Just do the thing. If you're prompted to do it, just do the thing. If you don't have cards and you know their phone number, if you can try and call them. If they don't answer the phone, do not be offended by that, because somebody who's taking care of somebody else, believe me, they may be up to their eyeballs in taking care of something. There was this one day when my mom was here. Bless her heart. There are times when, as the body ages, it doesn't cooperate very well. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's unpredictable. Sometimes it's just bloomin' unpredictable. Okay, let's see. I'm looking for a okay, I'm going to put this one on here. Anyway, she had one of those incidents. Okay, it was one of those that was, it was a problem, And every afternoon, Claus Man and I would go have coffee. That was our way of connecting. We did that for years. In fact, I did it with him until 2 weeks. Not 2 weeks. Yeah, about 2 weeks before he died was the last time I got him, that I was able to take him for coffee. Okay, where do I want to put this? I'm just going to put it, stop. Just do it. I'll show you in a second. Anyway, we'd had one of those moments where Mom had this situation. We'll just call it a situation. Any of you who've been caregivers know the situations I might be speaking of. Bless her heart. That's all I can say is bless her heart. It was phenomenal. Anyway, and we had a phone in her. This is when before cell phones were as prevalent as they are now. She was in the bathroom. Fortunately, there's a phone in the bathroom at that point, and the phone rang, and it was Claus Man, and he was calling. He said, "Well, how?" He said, "How are things going?" And I said, "It's a little overwhelming right now." He said, "Okay, got it. Call me when you can." It's like, okay, yeah, buddy. Anyway, okay, so there's what I did. I just put "Be You Bravely" on there. Stay curious. You see how simple these are. These are scraps. Why limit happy to an hour? And how much better would life be if Liar's Pants really did catch fire? That's my personal favorite. Anyway, so we have 4 little cards there that are good enough for, just hopefully making somebody feel good, or giving them something to smile about, or what have you, right? Hello, Artful Dabbler. Hello, Mary. Good to see you. Oh, the firsts are crazy. And you know what? I found that not the firsts were not as challenging for me in some ways as some of the seconds. I went through many of the firsts while he was still alive. The first time he forgot our anniversary, he was still here. The first time he forgot my birthday, he was still here. The first time he didn't know Valentine's Day, Easter, Thanksgiving, he was still here. So, the firsts don't always happen after they're gone. Sometimes the firsts happen while they're still here. Not always, of course. But, yeah, we need to be empathetic with people regardless, because I'm telling you, you never know what somebody else is going through. But the point of me saying the thing about sending people cards is if you feel led to do something, or prompted, whatever language you want to use, I don't care. But if you feel that thing, don't neglect that inner voice, that inner part of you. Don't neglect that. Do it. Move forward with that. Follow up on it. Do the thing. Send the card, make the call, send a text. Sometimes text messaging is great, because then people can respond when they want to, So, okay. Yeah, Mary. There you go. And all those subjects stay outside of Drama Free Friday now, don't they? All right, so let's put these little cards aside. And I have those postcards started from the other day, from Monday. So this is more of the jelly printed fabric that we worked on. This is fused to a Peltex double-sided fusible. So there's fusible, you can see it shining. That's fusible heat activated glue on both sides. So I fused this piece onto one side, and then this piece will get fused when I'm ready to. It will get fused onto this thing that says postcard. That's my thought at this point. That's what I'm going to do, is make postcards out of these. So what I have done to prepare is I have stamped the word postcard, and some of them stamped better than others, just with black archival ink. So I have stamped it using, which you can barely see, but the word postcard, which came from an old set of these cling rubber stamps. It was from this set from Stampabilities. I got it at Michael's a long time ago. Anyway, so that's what I'm using to stamp that on there. So these are prepared, and these are just made of just off-white muslin. And these are ready to do something with, and I'm not sure what. So I think we're gonna just follow our noses and get a sewing machine up here on the table. And I think we'll just do some stitching on him. Does that sound okay to you guys? Thank you, Rhonda. Okay. Does that sound good? What is the clear bar you put the stamp? Oh, this is just a stamp block from a long time ago. It's also from the Stampabilities company. So it's just a clear stamp block. It's basically just a thick piece of, yes, like Lexan or something along that line. But I bought it. It is specifically for this purpose. But these stamps are old enough that they've lost all their ability to adhere to anything. And so I put a piece of removable double-sided tape on there. So that's what's on there to hold that on. Okay? And then you stamp it. But on fabric, you're never going to get as dark an impression as you are, unless you have a fabric ink, which I don't have anymore. Yeah, they're acrylic blocks, but it's, what's the other word? Lexan is one kind of that stuff. What's the other stuff? You guys know. Anyway, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Okay, I'm going to put my sewing machine up here. And hi, Linda. Hello to Tim also. Okay. So let's see what we want to do. Okay. I'm not sure what we want to do. I need to zoom you in because if I don't, the lights are going to make you crazy. Okay. Oh, and it would be helpful if the machine was plugged in, that would be good, wouldn't it? Stamp block above. Thank you, Rhonda. And getting my foot control for my machine. That's always handy to have. Oh, sorry about the close-up face. Giant face in your face, huh? Everybody needs to see a giant Barb face. All right, I'm going to use some, or a headshot. Take your pick. I use my favorite thread to do stitching on these things. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to use my favorite thread, which is King Tut. And I've said this before. I used to, my local quilt shop, the good local quilt shop, changed hands, and a man bought it. And I don't know, he has a different style and a different impression of things, and so he got rid of a lot of the things that I used all the time, and I don't understand that, because I think that they shouldn't get rid of the stuff that I use all the time. I'm sorry if I'm the only one that buys it. I don't think I was, but you know what I mean. Okay. All right. So let's make sure I have this threaded properly. Yep. All right. We'll see how this does. And I think I'm just going to do some free motion stitching, which is feed dogs down and a free motion foot. And I put on purple variegated King Tut thread. Needle down, and I'm just going to, I don't know what, we're just gonna do some doodly stitching. I don't know what we're gonna do. What do you guys want to see on this? Do you care? Once I get my bearings, we'll be okay, but until then, it takes me a fat minute to kind of get my it takes a minute before I kind of get my head in it. Okay, so here we go. Let's and it's a little challenging to talk and do this, which is why I'm not And anytime you're doing this kind of free motion stuff, you just need to stop every once in a while and just kind of take a breath and kind of regroup. It's okay. You don't have to go until something's finished. You can just stop and take a breath and look at it and say, yeah, well, I don't know. And we're out of bobbin thread. Isn't that just the way it goes, you know? So when that happens, you just stop and you just put in some new thread. Fortunately, see, empty bobbin. They don't like to stitch with an empty bobbin. I don't know what's up with that. So I'm just going to put in another bobbin. I have a whole bunch of partial bobbins, so we may get to do this again, which is have a lesson in putting a bobbin in a bobbin case, if this is the kind of machine you have. I always hold it in my left hand, the bobbin in my left hand with the thread coming over the top of the bobbin case in my right hand. Put them together, put the thread through the little thread path, look at it with the bobbin facing you, and when you pull the thread, it should rotate in a clockwise position, clockwise fashion. Okay? You can't ever hear it too many times. I still, as many years as I have sewn, I still do that every time. Okay, so we got bobbin thread again. All right. Okie dokie. Let's just start right here again. And I'm going to cut off the threads so they're not in the way. Okay, and I think we're going to call that good on this one for stitching. So it's going to have, I've left a blank space in here, and that's where I'm going to stick one of those little stickers. So it's just a little doodly stitching kind of thing. You could use a whole spool for both ends of stitching. That would be nice. That would be a good idea. Let me know if they do that. Okay, let's go to the next one. I'm going to rethread the top thread with my favorite color. Actually, I'm going to rethread both of the top and bobbin thread. Again, it's a King Tut thread. It's my favorite lime green mix. Remember, when you thread your machine, when you're threading the top thread, have the presser foot, which is this thing right here, up position when you're threading the top thread. Okay, always up for threading, down for sewing. And when you're stitching with fusible web, sometimes the eye of the needle gets a little clogged up with fusible, and you kind of have to be nice to your machine, tell it, you know, please let me put the thread in the needle. Okay, the reason that you have the thread, the presser foot up, is because the tension discs, which is what makes the thread, the stitch properly formed, There are tension discs up in the machine, and they are, when the presser foot is up, the discs are open, so the thread drops into the right place. Then when you put the foot down, the discs close, and that is what tensions your thread. If you thread the machine with the tension with your presser foot down, the tension discs are closed, and so they don't seat, the thread does not seat properly in the tension discs. And once in a while, it's magic if you do that, once in a while, by some miracle, the tension discs open up at the right moment, the thread drops in, and you're you're fine. Doesn't always happen. In fact, it happens less often than you would like it to. Okay, so on this one, I think we're just going to kind of follow the vertical stitching, just because it's kind of got that vertical look from the jelly plate. So we're just going to do that. So remember, when you're stitching, to always put the presser foot down. That is so it tensions the thread properly. Oop. You can tell that made a big mess on the back, and it certainly did. Once you know your machine and you know the sound of it, you go, oh, nope, that is not correct. And sometimes when you're stitching over acrylic paint, your machine goes, nope, I am not having that today. Okay. We should be okay. I'm just going to rip out this. This is what you call thread puke. It's where the bobbin thread, the top thread and the bobbin thread get all confused, and they hang up on the back side of the work, and they make this ugly nest of thread on the back. Some people call it thread nest. I call it thread puke. All right, let's try again. But more often than not, I find if I hold the thread tails out to the side of the needle, that it works. If you hold it to the back, they can still tangle. If you hold it to the side, they're less likely to tangle when you get started. Okay. And just because it's easier for me to stitch toward myself, I'm just going to turn this around. It's not because it needs to turn around, because this is free motion stitching. I just find it easiest to be able to see where I'm going if I do that. So the other alternative is to stitch blindly backwards. For the sake of time, maybe we'll do that. So forward one direction, backward the other direction, kind of in gently waving lines. Because that's kind of what we have going on from the jelly plate. So I'm taking my cues in this case from what happened when I did the jelly plate printing. Now, you are in charge of the stitch length. So the more evenly you move the piece under the needle, the more evenly your stitch length is going to turn out. If you stop and start, or you are not consistent with the pressure on your foot control, you will get inconsistent stitching length. So this is a lot like patting your head and rubbing your stomach trying to do this and talk. Okay, I'm right at the end, so I am going to stitch forward this time. And I'm going to give it just a little more love here right on the end of this. Just because I can. Okay? Alright, so let's look at this one. Alright. So that stitch tension and stitch length was pretty decent. They're about the same distance lengthwise. That's acceptable, and that's the back. Okay? So if you have any questions, make sure that you put them in caps on in the chat, because I don't always get to see the chat unless you do that. Okay? All right, this is another one. I didn't pick out all of them to do embellished work on, but I did a few of them. So this is another one that I thought might use a little help. And I think I'm just going to leave it threaded up with the same lime green thread, because I mean, you can't go wrong with lime green. You just can't go wrong. So we're going to do a spiral, because it has this sort of spiral pattern that came from one of those rubbing plates. So I'm going to kind of do a spiral. We'll let that be in the background. So we'll just kind of do a rectangular spiral. How about that? So once I get going here, I can trim off the threads to keep them out of the way. Let's see if I can get going now, get my rhythm going here. And I ran out of bobbin thread yet again. I told you we were going to have this issue, and we did. And so fortunately I have another green bobbin all ready to rock and roll, so we're just going to use up some of these bobbins. You're not breathing? Oh, you don't need to hold your breath. I'm fine. It doesn't help. It really doesn't help if you hold your breath. It doesn't help me at all. It doesn't help me at all. There was something I was going to tell you guys, but now I've forgotten what it is. Okay, I can't see the... There it is. Okay. All right, let's see, where did I run out of thread. It was over here. Okay, now I got it. So I just need to come back and retrace my steps just a wee bit. Actually, I'm going to bring the bottom thread up to the top, since I'm kind of in the middle, not on the edge. So taking one stitch that's drawing the bobbin thread up to the top, except I didn't get it all the way up, so all right, tail, why aren't you coming through? Because it made a knot. Now we got it. Okay. All right, take all the slack out of the thread. So I have both threads on the top, and what that's going to let me do is to just take a couple, couple stitches, which would be nice if I hadn't done an inadvertent zigzag. And that's where you go, oops, oh well. And then I'm going to just come around the outside edge here. And call it good. Okay, so while I have this threaded up, and I may or may not have enough thread on the bobbin to do this, but there is our little spiral, squarish, rectangular spiral with the spirals in the background. While I have this threaded up like this, I'm going to put on my other foot, which is an open-toed applique foot, it's called. I'm going to raise the presser foot, or the feed dogs, back up. I'm going to do a zigzag stitch that is about 1.5 by 1.5 width and a 2 in length. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch, no, I don't want to do that, sorry. Yeah, can't do that because I don't have the backing on yet. Never mind, I didn't say a thing. I didn't say anything. Just forget that you heard that. Forget that you heard just the last minute of my blathering on. Just forget you heard that, okay? I'm going to go back to where I was. Yep, feed dogs down, free motion foot on. We're going to do the same lime green on this one, I think. Shall we, or shall we do a contrast? Let me see. Oh, you know what? I bet this would be good on there. Let's do that instead. How many times can Barb change her mind? Oh, lots. Yeah, lots of times. So, quickly rethread the machine, and then we'll decide how we're going to stitch this one. It's got circles on it. Seems like we should have some circles, don't you think? I don't know. I'm not great at stitching free motion circles. I don't know if I can do it. Come on. There you go. Nope. You twisted at the last minute. There we go. All right. I think we should do some circles. We should always have circles. I know. I know we should. All right. Let's see what happens if we, I don't know if this is going to work, you guys. I have no idea. If it doesn't, Oh, and I forgot to take the zigzag off. We don't want the zigzag. So we gotta regroup a little bit. Last night we went to a dinner that was called the Town and Country Dinner. And the extension and 4-H people provided the food. It's like the best country food that you could go for, you know? It's almost like one of the old-fashioned church dinners where the ladies bring their very best food dishes. It's pretty darn good, and came with homemade ice cream too. It's a dangerous place to go try to eat. Anyway, I don't know if this is going to work, like I said, but we're going to try it and see. Okay, and this may see thread puke on the back. Really, you know, that's when you're just grateful that you're gonna fuse something over this mess on the back. Okay, so we're gonna keep going here. But it was really good. Lots of good food there. Okay, so let's come over here and let's do some more. So this is going to be literally doodly free motion circles. And in some cases, just doodly whatever. Doodly, just a doodly do. Stitching circles is much harder, I think, to do than you would think it would be. Anyway. And there we go. Yet again, we have used up another extra bobbin of thread. Aren't you excited about how many times you get to see me thread a bobbin just to see if I still know how to do it? Let's see if we can pick one. Let's see if we can try one that's got a little bit more thread on it this time, huh? What about that? Maybe this one. Not really. How about this one? This looks like it's got more. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's see. We'll just see if I still know how to do it. All right. Is it rotating clockwise? It is. I did it again correctly. Maybe. Ideally, when I'm doing, if I really care about the project, I want either purposely I will unbalance the threads, which means I will put a light thread in the bobbin. So I will purposely do that so that the top thread will always pull through to the bobbin, to the bottom of the project. Or I will use the same color, same thread, top and bobbin, so that it no matter what happens, it won't pull through. I mean, you won't see it. You won't see the bobbin stitches. I can't talk today, clearly. Always use small scissors at your machine, not big ones, because you will end up stabbing your machine, and your machine will not like you if you do that. You know how sometimes when you're writing, I don't know if you guys have this, but sometimes when I'm writing in cursive, my hand just does its own thing. You know, I know how to spell. I'm a good speller, but my hand doesn't always write what my brain tells it to. It's kind of like that with free motion stitching. You can have the best of intentions, but sometimes it just goes on its own way, its own journey. Okay, and we're going to call that good. So this has a few little open spaces and some texture, but it just kind of does its own thing. It has a little bloop-de-bloop here, but you know, hey, whatever. Okay, and then we have this one. Let's see. Let's use the same color thread, and just for something different, I'm going to go back to my regular presser foot, which means I have to put the feed dogs up. It also means that now the stitch length is going to be controlled by the machine, not by my hand. And so I'm going to try to stitch. We'll see if this works. I'm going to try to stitch in the spaces that the jelly plate left. Okay, do we have, yes, okay. Oh, this may not work because, yeah, this isn't going to work. Okay, well, I answered that question. It's not going to work because this has a lot of acrylic paint on the surface of this, and so it's hanging up with the foot. If I had a Teflon soled foot, it would work. So we got to go back to the plan we were using before, put the feed dogs back down, and we'll just see if we can do it this way. So, you just try things and you go, nope, that's not going to work on this. You don't get frustrated about it. I mean, you can, but getting frustrated only makes you crazy. It doesn't help the end result at all. Okay, I'm gonna come over here and just kind of mirror this a little bit right in this area. Just because we can call that good. And I'm gonna just stitch up over on the edge all the way up to here. To the next little section, which I'm having to make this up as I go along because it's hard to see. So sometimes you take inspiration from something and you just kind of work with what the design suggests. Other times you might just go off on your own path and just try something different. So what I'm doing is just following what I see. Okay, and now I think I will just make something up as we go. So let's see what happens. Oh, and we're out of bobbin thread yet again. Aren't you excited about this today? We're just using up all kinds of little, this is like using up little scraps of fabric, except we're using up scraps of thread. I thought I had more on that bobbin than I did, so let's go for another one. I'll probably get some comment from somebody. But you'd think you would fill the bobbin up instead of stopping and starting all those times. Yeah, well, so it goes. Okay, here we go. One of the things you find out if you are streaming, if you are a streamer or a video content creator on YouTube, you will develop a thick skin or you will not do it because you don't. It is not conducive to someone who is easily upset or offended. Okay. One of the things when you are doing free motion stitching that you have to be aware of, so there is what I did in there, just a little doodly fill thing, and there is the back side. Sometimes it's easier to see on the back. One of the things when you're free motion stitching, many of you know that I was a motorcyclist for a long time, and I got my own motorcycle license. And I took motorcyclist driver education. Yes, I did. And one of the things that you learn when you are a motorcyclist is that you have to look where you're going. And also when you learn to drive a car, hopefully they still teach kids this, you need to look where you're going, not where you are. It also applies to free motion stitching. Look where you're going, not where you are. So in other words, you've got to look ahead of the needle at least an inch. You know, your eyes are going to be moving back and forth, but you've got to look ahead of the needle because you are going to stitch exactly where your eyes are looking. So if they're looking at the needle, you're going to probably take tiny little stitches and stay pretty much in one place. If you look ahead of what you're doing, or you have a thought process, like on the one, it's like, I think we'll do free motion circles. Well, then that gave me a way to kind of get started with it. But you've got to look at where you're going. So, and it does take practice. There is no getting around that. It does take practice. And as much of it as I have done, I have to practice every time. Like I'm just now getting the feel of it again for the first time since when, I don't know, because I haven't done it for a long time. Anyway, we'll take a look at them here in the other shot here. Get the machine out of my way. Okay, so here we go. So you can see what they look like. And I'm going to heat up my iron and we will fuse the backs on, and then I'll show you how to do the edge of one, how I usually fix them, finish them. So this is my old iron, so it doesn't matter. I don't care if it gums up on the bottom. Okay, so here we go. This is the last one we did. Okay, this is the last one that we just did. This is the doodly circle one. Here's kind of a rectangular-ish spiral where I stitched my way in and then stitched my way back out of the spiral. And here's this one, which I left a blank space on purpose, and I'm going to try to leave it. Everything in me says go back, fill that up, but I think I'm going to leave it and put the words, you know, put a word, words, something there. And this one where I just did sort of loose parallel-ish lines. Thank you guys. Okay. All right. Now, what I need to do here before I do anything else is square these up. Try to square them up anyway. I have to fish out my ruler, which is under stuff. Okay. So let's take a look at these and see how these are looking. I'm holding it up to myself so I can see. They're about 4 by 6. Actually, they're pretty, that one's pretty square. All right, let's see if this one is. Just looking, so there's the 6, and there's the 4. So they're actually looking pretty square. So far I don't have to square those up. Let's try this one. Because that's pretty good. These are coming out much better than I expected them to. Probably because I tore the fabric as I did them. Yeah, they're good enough. This one I'm going to have to, the only thing I have to do is to trim off. I'm going to trim off the excess Peltex, which is probably going to unsquare them a little bit, but that's okay. So I'm just going to look and make sure that I don't have a bunch of just naked Peltex hanging out there. So this will change the size of it just a little bit, but you know, that's okay. All right, good enough. So I'm gonna zoom out a little bit for you guys here. Zoom out a little bit, sorry about that. Okay, so there's my little ironing board. Maybe we'll look at it this way. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so my ironing board is on a slant, okay? And I'm going to get my postcard backings that say postcard on them. You love them. Hi, Dorothy. Thank you. Okay, so let's see what we want to put where. All right, I don't know why, but we're just going to put this at the top. It really does not matter. These are just little postcards, okay? So we're going to stick those, we're going to call that the top, like so. And pardon my head, I'm going to get a piece of parchment. Hopefully it's fairly square. And we're going to fuse this on. The Peltex had fusible on both sides, so hopefully this will stick. That's the goal, to have it stick. It looks like it did. Okay. If you care about your surface of your ironing board, you probably should have something on there. Which I probably should. Since I said that, I'll do this. This is an applique pressing sheet. Because acrylic paint, when it can get reactivated by the heat from the iron, and so then sometimes it can make a huge, horrible mess on your ironing surface. All right, I'm going to scooch this one over. This one's going to get reshaped a little bit because this has some raveling edges, so I'm going to have to cut that off. So this one's going to be a bit shy of the 4x6 size. Dorothy, how did your show go or your exhibition? Is your work still in the exhibition? Yeah, that one we're going to set aside because that one's going to have to be recut a little bit. I'm just needing to decide which is the top of these. I think that'll be the top on this one just because. So I'm just going to fuse all of these together while I've got them. Got the iron hot. So fuse the backs onto them. You do need to leave, if you decide that you're going to write on these and send them in the mail, if you're going to send them directly through the mail, you need to leave 5/8 of an inch at the bottom, because that's where they put the barcode and stuff on the postcards. I would recommend that you just do these if you want to write on them, and you could write all over them as long as you're going to put them in an envelope to mail. That's what I would recommend that you do. All right, we'll use this as the up. So although they would be able to go through the mail, you know, you do run a bit of a risk with, you know, machines doing bad things to them and stuff like that. I would probably put them in an envelope and send them that way if you want to send them, or just include them in a gift of some other kind, you know. Or just give them to somebody. Or you can leave them around. You can remember the random, what was it? The bits of art that you just leave around. That's a great thing to do with these too. Just leave them to encourage somebody else. Leave them hanging around somewhere. All right, and then we have this one. And I want it this way or this way. This way is the way I want it. I don't always know why I want something to be a certain way. It's just that it seems to feel right, you know. The exhibition went very well. Lots of good comments. Your work paled into insignificance compared to many others. Well, I don't know about that, Dorothy. Is CB here? Hey, CB. I don't know if we can agree with that, Dorothy. I just don't know if we can agree with that. I think Dorothy's work is probably the best. Don't you guys think that our Dorothy is probably the best? Okay. So, iron off. Now, I do need to square these up again, because now I have made them kind of a little, a bit on the wonky side. So let me square these up just a smidge. And once I square these up, they don't all have to be squared up, but once they're squared up a little bit, then I will show you how to edge one of them on the sewing machine. And you can edge them in different ways. You can do whatever you want. I tend to do it with a zigzag edge. So that one's okay. Is this one okay? This one needs a little bit. You know what? Here's what we can do. Never mind with the rotary cutter. We'll just do it. We'll just trim off this, because, you know, really, does it matter that much? Nope. Instead of dealing with the thickness, yeah, never mind. I know what I'm talking about. I know you guys are probably going, where is her train of thought going? It's okay. I know what I'm thinking. One of the interesting things about learning to communicate with a different person, aka the Studley Duck, is how someone else's, what's their style of communication and how do they think. And he tends not to finish his sentences. He finishes the thought, but not necessarily the sentence. So I have told him, I said, you know, here's going to be my standard answer. My mind reading license expired. I'm so sorry. I didn't follow the whole thought all the way to completion because my mind reading license expired. Because he doesn't often realize that it didn't come all the way, you know, from his brain all the way out his mouth. It is pretty funny most of the time. Okay, there's that one. And then let's see about this one. I'm just going to trim up some of the little ravelly bits along the edge and not worry about trying to use a ruler to do it. And that one is really hanging out. Okay, we are going to have to smooth this, get rid of a little bit of this. And we're not going to care whether they're entirely square or not. Nope. Okay. So now this is when I will have a full, I will take the time to fill up a bobbin with thread. Your husband does that? It's crazy. It is crazy sometimes. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this one on the edge because I think it'll be the easiest one for you to see. And I may not do them all this way, by the way. I may do only some of them this way. So while I'm talking to you, I'm going to fill a bobbin. And I'm going to use, looking at my thread selection, I think I'm just going to use my very favorite, which is this lime green. I think that's what I'm going to use. All right, let's see if we got enough on the one spool to fill the bobbin. You need to always check your owner's manual about how to thread, how to wind, and how to thread your specific machine. Some machines you have to loosen the tension on the flywheel of the machine. This one you don't, but you do have to flip a lever. These glasses are not conducive to this. Here we go. I do have to flip a lever over here, which disables the tension. And then it will fill to the right amount. And if you only partially fill a bobbin, you have to make sure that you tighten the tension back again on your machine or put the lever back. If you don't, not going to work. And your bobbin should thread evenly, not too much on one side of the bobbin or one side or the other. It should be filled evenly. See that? How it's even? That's how a properly filled bobbin should look. There should be no loops of thread. It should be absolutely evenly wound. Okay? And thus ends your bobbin winding lesson. Okay, I'm going to rethread the machine real quick here. Feed dogs up to thread the machine. Don't listen to what I just said. Presser foot up. Feed dogs up or down makes no difference. Presser foot has to be up. It helps if you snip the end of the thread with a fresh cut and then spit on it, because spit heals and Takes care of a multitude of things, including dirt on faces and threading threads through eyes of needles. Maybe unsanitary, but it works. Okay, I just need to get my end of my thread. Here we go. Okay. Feed dogs up. Replace the bobbin. Thread is expensive. It is. It's true. That's right, CB. We are. We are. But that's why you just have to make a joke out of it and go, you know, my mind reading license done ran out. It expired. Okay, bringing up the bobbin thread to the top, and I'm going to my regular presser foot. Okay, I'm ready to rock and roll and show this to you. Let's go here. I just want this one. Okay. All right. So what's going to happen now? This is a two-step process, the way that I do this particular edging. So this is back to what I started to do a while ago and then said, oh, nope, can't do that yet. So I'm going to do a zigzag, which I'm going to use about a 1.5 in width, 1.5 to 2, and a 2 in length. All right, and I'm going to start. I'm going to have my needle down, and I'm going to stitch on and off the edge of the fabric. Okay, try again. And I like to move the needle position all the way to the right on my machine so that I can put the inside edge of this presser foot running it along the outside edge of my postcard. Now when you get to the edge, the corner I mean, this is, you're asking your sewing machine to stitch in thin air, which doesn't work very well. And so what I recommend is you take another piece of fabric, another piece of something that's the same thickness. We'll use this one. Put it behind your presser foot. Okay, put it behind the presser foot. That covers the feed dogs and gives the machine something to grip. The presser foot and the machine something to grip so it will move it through the machine. Now you're not stitching it to this thing, you're only using it as a helper. But every corner, it's a good idea to do that because you are literally asking it to stitch in the thin air. And this, I didn't exactly even this off, so I'm going to have to just like give it a little help. Because what happens if you don't use this helper thing is it will just sit there and just stitch back and forth and not go anywhere. Okay, come on now. It's getting hung up on the acrylic paint. It's getting really hung up on this metallic fabric paint. It does not like that fabric paint at all. the stickiness of this metallic paint. It's very plasticky and it does not like that. So we're going to have some uneven success with this, but it'll still be okay. Alright, so that is the first pass on doing this edging, okay? And you could leave it at this. You don't have to go back for another pass of thread, but it might be to your advantage to do that. And that's what we're going to do, because I like to have a better look to the edge. So that holds everything together. That first, you call it the first run, when you have two stitchings required. The first run is that one, and now I'm going to do a second run. It's cleaning up these edges a little bit with the stragglies. I'm going to make it a wider zigzag. I'm going to shorten it just a little bit, not a whole lot for this, because I am working with this acrylic paint, which is already annoying the heck out of my machine. But now it's going to make a stitch that's closer together and wider, so let's see what we get. I'm going to have to help it a little bit because of the fact that it is really not in favor of this acrylic paint, that it's trying to, the acrylic paint is sticky, and so it's working against the foot. Okay. And so now I'm going to turn the corner. I'm going to start at the corner again. I'm going to get my needle in there, put my helper thing behind the foot. Reposition, so I'm right in the corner. Put the helper deal behind. Once again, reposition, and the helper. And I'm at the final corner here. Reposition. Okay, and then to end this, I'm going to go to a 0 stitch length, 0 stitch width, and I'm just going to drop the feed dogs and go back to center needle position, and then just stitch a couple stitches. And that acts like a knot because it's stitching in place. I still may have to come back and give it a little bit of glue there where the stitching ends. Okay, so that's how it looks, and sometimes you'll get stragglers of threads, but if you do it in a two-step process, you end up getting a better look to your edge. Okay, so there is the back. Okay, but every corner turns very easily, very well if you just use a helper thing. It needs to be the thing that is the same thickness. The key to this is that the helper deal has to be the same thickness as the project that you're stitching. Okay, let me get rid of my machine because that's all the stitching I'm going to do today. So let me get my machine off here. And we'll add a word to it, and then or a phrase or whatever, we'll call it a day, okay? We will call it a day. Okay. So here's our project. And we need to make sure we got the postcard the right way up, which we do. Hi, Mickey. Good to see you. All right, what do we have here? Where are my words? They're hiding under a stack of something. Can you imagine? Okay, let's see what we can find. Let's do, this is so light in color. Do I want a white one? Let's do a white one. Okay, I think this is a really good one. It's very simple, but I think it's really good for right now. I'm going to use a little bit of black archival, which I got on my fingers, but hopefully we'll keep it off of the fabric. So I'm just edging the little edge of this because it just helps it to stand out a little bit. It's one of those super subtle details that, is it important? You know, maybe not. And I like to put them kind of off center. I also like to put them in a place where they're not in the middle. So I think we're just going to put it right here. So be authentic. It is something that in this particular time, I'm not going to go into politics, and I don't want to do it in the chat either, but it's one of the things that tends to show up during an election year is a lot of pseudo authenticity. And so I think we could all be well advised to be more authentic with our relationships and with each other and with strangers and with everyone. I think it's good to be authentic. Don't you? All right, so our cards for today, that's how I usually finish them. I like them finished with the variegated thread. If the stitching is real close together in a satin stitch fashion, this thread stripes perfectly and very evenly. It doesn't show as well here because I didn't do it quite in the satin stitch way. So here are the rest of them from a distance. So I'll put the sentiment probably right in here. And do you have to put sentiments on these? Nope, you don't. You can do whatever you want. So there's this one. So these are not edged yet. clearly. The edging, hi Alicia, hi Mickey, the edging just kind of frames them. So you can see the difference between this one and let's say this one. Just that frame of the thread around it really makes it look a lot better. And then don't forget that if you have scraps of fabric and whatever else, let's see, what did I do with the other? Here. If you have scraps of fabric and blank cards, then you can just put your scraps together, add a little sentiment. This one said, how much better would life be if Liar's pants really did catch on fire? I personally think that's a riot. This one is why limit happy to an hour. These are just little scraps. This could, somebody pointed out that these look like candles on a cake. This could, if I'd put them down further, I could have put little flames up the top. They could have easily been a happy birthday card. This one, very simple, just says, stay curious. That is one of the things that is really good in communication, is to stay curious and not take things personally. And this one is be you bravely. So just scraps and pieces. Okay. Thank you guys for coming and hanging out with me today. I almost said tonight, but today. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for your time. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend, your week, whatever you're watching this. And do something nice for somebody. We are in a deep shortage of kindness to each other and to random people, and you can't ever go wrong being kind, you know? And so with that, I will say to you, do get your creative, spread your creative wings a little bit. And it's easy because all you got to do is just do it a little bit at a time and do something every day that's creative, and you'll be excited and glad that you did. It really makes you feel good to be creative. Yes, random acts of kindness are so good, so good. Send cards to somebody. Send a card to somebody, call them up on the phone, send them a text, just stay in touch with people. Everybody hurts, especially at certain times of life things, everybody hurts, and we need to lift each other up and be aware of that. All right, I will see you all on Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. I plan to be here, I believe. I will see you then. And as always, remember to get creative today, because you know it's easy, and I'll see you before you know it. Bye for now.